What is going on, everybody? Another week. This week, it's Florida week. Like we teased last week, we have a really big show for you all. That's Pig Trail Nation Sports Director Alyssa Orange. I am 4'10", left fielder on Perfect Game, class of 2019, Evan Kamiko. Welcome into Batting Cleanup. Alyssa, good to be back, at least for me, in studio this week, and you're on the road in a car right now.
I am. I want to let everybody know the car's not moving. We are stationary in a parking lot, but happy to be with you because it is a big week. Not for Arkansas, but for the trash talking that will ensue with the Florida Gators in town.
we have a special guest coming on later, but I'll wait to tease that because if you watched our show last week, you already know who it is. It's Courtney Mims. She'll be jumping on, joining us, making her batting cleanup debut. But let's talk about a couple of things. First of all, I want to talk about my Wrigley Field experience. You talked about your experience in Citi Field last week. I'll talk about my Wrigley experience this week. And it was a fun week. I mean, Thursday, and the funny thing is Thursday, my buddy and I, he texted me Wednesday morning. He's like, dude, I'm going to get tickets like 10 a.m. in the morning. And I'm like, I'm not even awake right now. and he's already buying tickets. We knew it wasn't going to be nice out. But we were like, all right, like let's still go to the game and you know, have a couple drinks, enjoy Wrigleyville, and be on vacation. I haven't seen him since I left IU last year, and when we were on our trip after school. So it was nice seeing a friend. But my sister and I, we get to Wrigley early, and the second we get to the bar that we were going to drink at before the game, we get an alert on our phone saying the game's been postponed. So they completely switched the game from Thursday to Saturday. He texts me and he's like, dude, I just hopped on the train, like I'm turning around. And it was just not, we were so upset. We were like, we would have been the idiots out there, like the guys in no rain jackets or anything, just dripping wet of rain, watching the game. So unfortunately did not get to go and see that at all. So that was the bad thing on Thursday. Still saw my friend, and then got to go to the Cubs game Friday. Gorgeous day. They beat the Marlins 8-3, so absolutely worth it. Got to sing "Go Cubs Go," which maybe I'll add in and post a video of that, but we got some other things to do. So maybe not, but if you haven't seen "Go Cubs Go," you can, and that's my trip to Wrigley.
Well, I'm glad that you had a good time, and they won.
Yes,
so
they did. They did.
And Belly's now injured though, so there's that.
Yeah, if anybody knows how I can donate a rib. I'm very open to donating like the 2 ribs right here. He could take my ribs, not my made Caleb Williams jersey though, because Caleb Williams #1 overall pick tonight. Very excited.
Happy NFL draft day for all who celebrate, including you.
Yeah, yes,
so,
including
congratulations.
Me. But all right, let's talk Razorbacks now. Enough of my silly antics. Got some injury updates this morning as Arkansas preparing to take on the Florida Gators. The first one, the lineup this weekend, and specifically the rotation for Arkansas, will look a little different than it has. We're typically accustomed to seeing Hagen and then Mason Molina, then Brady Tygart. Brady Tygart sliding up to that Game 2 start. We don't know if all 3 games are going to be played Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There's talks of 7-inning doubleheaders on Saturday due to weather. Friday night, DVH said the game should happen. Again, they can't move it up because it is on national TV. It's 7 o'clock first pitch. So just a little tidbit there. But Alyssa, when you heard that this morning, that you saw that Mason Molina will not be pitching this weekend, what was your initial reaction to that?
Well, one, I wasn't surprised. So 2 really initial reactions, because I read your tweet and I had 2 reactions as I was reading your tweet that you put out. The first one is I'm not surprised because I know that Mason has struggled a little bit, but then I was like, oh, but he's injured. And so now, okay, how long have they maybe been trying to see if he could pitch through this, and now it's just not worth it anymore and they'd rather get him healthy. So those were kind of like my 2 gut reactions as I was like reading your tweet. And now I'm curious who they put out there, when they played JMU in that 4-game thing. I think Colin Fisher is the first name that pops in your head. I think you could even look at Will McIntyre being a starter because he's done it before and he's been that Sunday starter before. So I'm really curious to see who they go with, and we might not even know until right before the game.
Yeah, and I'll throw out Ben Bybee on that list too that you didn't mention, because Bybee pitched a little bit shorter in the midweek game in Little Rock earlier this week, and DVH said that was intentional for him to, maybe go this weekend. Mason Molina tweaked his ankle. They said he's about 90%. He could pitch this weekend if they really wanted him to, but DVH said let's just wait out, because again, you have Kentucky and Mississippi State and Texas A&M, 3 of the 4 other big dogs in the SEC right now, waiting on tap. And again, this is a Florida team. We'll get into it in a little bit with Courtney, that, their ERA is really low in the SEC, and they're, 8-10 right now in the standings, bottom of the SEC East. So not a series that you typically think, but again, DVH did finish and say, this is Florida after all. They've been to national championship games the last couple of years, won the whole thing. So, definitely not a team you could always sleep on.
And I think too, you look into the weekend, like you mentioned, of who's looming ahead. That you win game one, if you win game two, you've won the series. Do you really need to stress yourself out in game three? Is it that big of a deal? And it absolutely isn't, because we know you'd much rather have Mason Molina in June.
Absolutely. And what's the difference between winning, 30 straight games at home versus not? And again, like I said last week when they played or 2 weeks ago when they played Bama, you'd rather lose a couple games now and break that long streak instead of going to June with all of this pressure mounting on the team of this home winning streak and being so dominant at home. So if you lose one or two now at home, you're not so upset. I know a lot of fans will be upset. Maybe Mike Irwin will be a little upset, but I think overall, and the reaction is it's nothing to really be overly upset about.
What is Mike Irwin not upset about?
That's
what I wanted.
That's fair. No, he seems in a good mood today. Maybe we'll have a quick Mike spot in a little bit.
Because I'm probably not in the office. That's why.
Maybe not. Anyway, two other injury updates. Jared Sprague-Lott, who's been dealing with an injury, he should be back in the lineup this week. That's what TVH said. Same thing with Kendall Diggs, dealing with that shoulder injury that he hurt a couple weeks ago in Bama. But again, Kendall swinging the bat really well last weekend. Both of them expected to go this weekend. So that's your bit of an update. And hey, we got a little plug right here that I'd love to talk about because our Jacob Morris did a fantastic piece on Peyton Holt. I know you sat down for the interview, so we'll play a little clip right here and then come back and talk. Just curious about your thoughts on Peyton Holt. So check this out. Here's a little teaser. Take a look.
It was just like so surreal. I've, growing up 45 minutes away, it's like, that's the place you want to be. I mean, I'm 23, 18 years of my life, I've been wanting to do this.
You can't put it into words. It's you root for the team and you root for all the players, and then when your son's actually out there and he's contributing, you can't put it into words. And he would have given anything to see Peyton Stovall not go down and get hurt, but he was more than ready for his opportunity.
If you haven't seen it already, go over to our website. You can watch the full piece over there. What an awesome piece. What impressed you about Peyton as he continues? He's leading the team right now in batting average. I think he's around 349 right now, but just what impressed you the most when you guys sat down with Peyton?
Yeah, first and foremost, kudos to Jacob for not making that 5 minutes long, because it could have been. And
I would have wanted to watch 5 minutes.
Yeah, why I'm in a car, I was hosting an event for the Rogers Public Schools, and I had a gentleman come up to me afterwards and was just gushing about that piece and how much he loved it, and really giving Jacob some kudos. So wanted to go ahead and give him a shout out there. But I think when you sit down with Peyton Holt, you realize how, like, when you see him on the field, he's this ball of energy. He's kind of like always bouncing around, and he's the rah-rah guy, and he's a guy that just brings that positive attitude in the dugout. But you can sit down with him, and there's a very mature side of Peyton Holt when you sit down, that you see how he is that like high energy, like getting everybody pumped up guy, but it's because of what he's been through. And he'll sit down and he'll be very mature and reflective. And, most athletes have that confidence about him, but that confidence wasn't always there. And so very open about what he's been through and where he is, and, how this has just been a dream of his to play for the Razorbacks growing up in Greenwood and being 45 minutes away, how much he looked up to Dave Van Horn. And now that he's doing it, his whole attitude is, I'm going to do whatever I can. If it's bringing, the guy on deck a cup of water before he goes to the plate, or playing every single position on the field, which he said he can do, he's going to do it. And he's going to do it with the same amount of energy. And that's what you love about him. And I think that people really got to see who Peyton Holt is a little bit more. And again, I wish we could post the full unedited interview, because it was awesome. And if you weren't rooting for him before, you're rooting for him now.
Absolutely. And it's such an integral part. You saw the home run against Auburn that he hit. Right after we were saying, who are the two players that didn't hit a home run yet? It was Peyton Holt and Parker Rowland. Peyton Holt goes on. Absolutely. I mean, that was just a stone cold home run. You love to see it. It was such an awesome moment. I think just sitting here watching, and I'm like, I'm hoping for the game to be over, because we got a live hit to do in a couple of minutes. And I'm like, oh man, I don't know if we can extend this, if I'll be able to get highlights on air. But just sitting there watching, I'm like, oh my goodness, like that was awesome. What a really cool moment. And I got to ask, he's played 5 positions so far. Do we think he can throw on the mound? If so, what do we think he can throw at?
He said yes. I asked him, and he said I can play every position, and he said especially pitcher. He goes, because I've pitched. Now, if you remember, I'm sure maybe fans who are listening remember last year they had to put Ben McLaughlin on the mound because they were out of arms, and I mean he was throwing 80. But he got it there and he struck a guy out. And Peyton's like, I could do that. I could do that too. If push comes to shove and they need me to get on the mound and throw the baseball, he could do it too. So I don't think we're going to see that. But there's a strong possibility that we might be able to see him play anywhere but catcher, because if they need him to play catcher, that's a problem because they got 4 of them, and that's a bigger conversation.
It's like, oh, where are all the guys are out? All the 5 catchers we have?
You have 4 guys. Why is Peyton Holt back there?
No, Peyton Holt's the 5th. He's been here the whole time. That's probably what they're all saying. But I will say, I did love when I used to play baseball, always joking with our pitching coach, saying, Coach, come on, put me in. Like, I'm ready to go. And he's like, if you strike me out, you can pitch an inning. That didn't happen. I never actually pitched to him. So I was a little bummed. But as a full-time fielder, it is fun every so often getting to stretch the arm and see if I can hit 87 on the mound. So that was good.
I would love to know, maybe this is an assignment for down the road, if we polled some of the Arkansas infielders and position players and been like, you think you could pitch? And like, see if the pitchers are like, the amount of people who come up to me and act like they could do what we do is astounding. I would love to kind of see that ratio.
We should have a pitchers, the hitters pitch to the pitchers. So like, I would love to see a Peyton Holt Hagen Smith matchup, but the other way, where Hagen's at bat and Peyton is pitching. And it might not be 97, 98 that Hagen can throw, but I bet Peyton Holt's got a good changeup.
Next time we're over there, we'll throw it out to Oliver.
Yeah.
Be like, so this is what we're thinking.
Yeah. Hey, Oliver, do us a solid. Maybe let media pitch too. That would be fun.
Oh God.
Actually, just hit.
I don't need a black eye, thank you.
We need a baseball skills challenge. We're still waiting for that basketball one with neighbors, but that's a story for another podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of pitching, before we bring on Courtney and talk UAPB really quickly, Hagen Smith K count. Yeah, this is unfair. It's triple digits, and remember the point in the season where him and Mason Molina were like 29 and 31. Mason Molina's at 68. So just puts it in a bit of perspective that Hagen has 100.
Are we at the century mark, or are we right over the century mark?
We're right at the century mark. It's 100. 100 on the dot.
Nice.
100 Ks.
Wow. Incredible.
Maybe we haven't seen anything this dominant. It might be more dominant than Paul Skeens when we look back to it. And again, we've talked about this over and over again, that if you take out that first inning game where he gave up 3 runs on that 1 home run, I mean, numbers wise, it's crazy. Just the difference.
Yeah, it's insane. And it's something you can't take for granted, because you're probably not going to see it again for a very, very long time. So just appreciate it for what it is right now, and appreciate this badass, I'm going to say badass because it's a podcast, matchup we're about to get with Hagen and Jack Caglione.
And we're going to talk about that in a minute, because I'd be curious, because again, the LSU didn't throw Luke Holman against Hagen Smith. I really hope that, because I don't think the pitching probables have been announced yet. I haven't seen that email from Oliver when the time we're filming this. But I'll be curious if they throw Cags against Hagen Smith, because that will be just a lot of fun of a matchup.
Oh my gosh. And it's insane. I'm going to be in Nashville over the weekend, but I'm going to have to tell someone to turn the Vandy game off and the Arkansas game on. So. See,
and we were texting this morning, I was telling you that when I was in Houston, some guy, like no affiliation, it was Rangers Capitals, would rather sit there and watch playoff hockey than the Astros. When I'm sitting in the Houston airport, and I have no problem with that. Like, I love playoff hockey more than the next person. But the fact that they would rather not turn on the Astros and watch the Rangers, I don't know. Why was that? Houston, what are we doing? What are we doing, Houston? Weird. Just go bang on trash cans.
Houston, you have a problem.
And they're the Houston Astros. Anyway, really quickly before we bring on Courtney, 2 more things to discuss. The first one, UAPB, Vahiva Aloy, 5 RBIs. I think he was like 4 for 4. What a really great, game for him. And we've seen him continue to improve week in and week out. What are your biggest takeaways from this midweek game? Again, midweek game, say what you want about it.
Well, I just think that they continue to get the job done. And, we were talking with someone yesterday that was like, they spent more time on the road yesterday or Tuesday than actually playing that baseball game, and so that takes a lot of mental discipline to sit in a bus and drive 3 hours play that game and then drive 3 hours back. And you're also playing UAPB, which, is still a valiant opponent, but the pitching isn't what you're used to seeing. You're having to adjust your bat speed and your timing because of the lower pitching speeds and velocities, and to still be able to not struggle with that was good to see, specifically in that one inning when they finally, I think, kind of settled in and broke out, had that 7 runs in the 6th, because we have gone down to Little Rock and they have lost those games, or they've been really, really close. And I think that just sets this team apart from teams in the past, that they just get the job done. I mean, I don't think you can really dissect and get too high about anything that happened. I mean, Vahiva Aloy was 4 for 4, which is great to see. You're not struggling at the plate. I think Kendall Diggs, on the other flip side of that coin, struggled a little bit at the plate. But you go, you get your job done, and you come home. And I think this team understands that this is the approach you have to win baseball games, regardless of who's on the other side.
And, speaking of coming home, now the team comes home, turns to Florida, which is now the matchup. And quickly, before we bring in Courtney Mims, I'm going to pop up the SEC standings really quickly, because they're interesting right now. Arkansas currently a game lead over Texas A&M in the West. Mississippi State 10-8. Kentucky 14-4, leading the East by 2 games. Those are 3 of the next 4 series that the Hogs have to play to close out this SEC schedule. We knew the front half of the season was going to be pretty easy. The back half, an absolute gauntlet, and it starts really with Florida and Jack Caglione. So in just a moment, we're going to come back and have Courtney Mims joining us for our second special guest of Batting Cleanup. We'll see you all in 20 seconds. Welcome back to Batting Cleanup, our second special guest, and we know that everybody's kind of, well, I don't know if everyone's wanted her on the show, but we're going to have her on the show this week. It's Courtney Mims. Courtney, welcome to Batting Cleanup.
Evan, what an intro was that? I mean, listen, when you guys wanted to have me on, I was very honored. I was like, wow, Batting Cleanup, this is a big honor, and here I am, just, we didn't know if we wanted her on or not.
Oh, your lying is about as bad as your baseball team. It's fine.
What about her softball team?
And the softball team is also, I guess, not doing so well.
So Courtney didn't know what to expect when she popped on it. I think she expected like a nicer introduction.
I don't know why. She works with us on a daily basis.
Yeah, you had to see this was coming.
I just want everyone to know that if you wanted to be in the Pig Trail Nation group chat, all it is rag on Courtney and any Florida teams. That's all it is just rag on Florida baseball, rag on Florida softball, and sometimes football as well gets thrown in there. Sorry, Billy Napier.
And this lacrosse team you supposedly have.
There's a lacrosse team in Florida?
Hold on. We have a really good lacrosse team. Let me just first of all
lacrosse?
say real lacrosse, and they're really good, Alyssa. So I don't know where your tweet came from. They, on their official schedule, they never played FSU. So
FSU just made that up. This video was just made that up.
I think that was a little fraudulent information there. If you go look at their schedule, they're not on there.
You need to stop drinking the Kool-Aid because it's real. I didn't make that up.
Is it the Todd Golden Kool-Aid?
I don't need to make up beating Florida. The evidence is there with all the other sports.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, there's no denying it. Florida lost FSU in softball and big time last night. And then there's no denying it. Florida baseball has lost to FSU quite a few times. So yeah, quite a few. I said quite a few times there. That's what that means, Alyssa. There you go.
I just, for our audience, the visual people here.
There's no denying. And I will say this, Florida softball, I feel like they might have had a little bit of trouble bleeding over from baseball of not winning midweek games and just deciding to lose those. So maybe that was a little bit of the mentality of Florida baseball seeping over into Tim Walton's program there. They need to cut that out because I don't know what's going on with this Florida baseball team this year. From the get-go, you guys know that when they were ranked, and you can say this for all the Batting Cleanup viewers, I was not happy that they were ranked. I said they were not good. And what has I said since the beginning of the year? Pitching. That's why
which
they're
is
not
very
good.
uncharacteristic of a Sully baseball team.
It really is. But Alyssa, there's a reason for that. That's because their arms this year in the pitching staff are all pretty young. And so they're good. It doesn't mean they're bad. They're good arms, but they're just young and inexperienced. So in a few years, wow, this pitching staff might be one of the best in the country. But right now, it's like this up and down roller coaster that Florida fans have been on, where they just don't know what you're going to get on a certain night. I mean, look at this. Their Friday night starter in Pierce Capola has an 18 ERA. 18. But he's also pitched in 2 games this year. 2 games. 2. So, I don't know if fans are really like, hey, we're going to go to the College World Series, or they're just trying to get through the rest of the regular season and look towards next year. But I know a lot of people on social media have been saying, look, this is going to be a good staff in a couple of years down the road, not right now.
And Courtney, the one thing that, yeah, go Alyssa.
I was just going to say, she came ready to fight.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I expected this. But Courtney, I guess the one good thing that Florida does have right now is, the American version of Shohei Ohtani. Many have noted him. Jack Caglione he's everything we've seen from him on video and Instagram and social media. It seems like he lives up to that kind of hype. And as somebody who watches Florida and is a Florida fan outside of, covering Arkansas, what challenges do you think that the Hogs have to face with him this weekend specifically?
Well, the challenge is can Jack Caglione carry the entire Florida team on his back? There's a reason why he's leading the team in batting right now, and he leads the team in. He has the best ERA. He's the best pitcher of the team. There's also a reason why they're throwing him Sunday, because that's the game that they think they have the best chance of winning. Right now, you guys talked about it earlier on the show, but Arkansas doesn't know who they're pitching Sunday, with Mason Molina being out for this weekend. So I think Florida and Kevin O'Sullivan, if you're looking at that game right now, you're like, oh, let's throw Caglione there because we have the best chance of winning that game logically, of looking at that. They're going to face some challenges with him. But here's the thing. You're going to face challenges with him, but it's the rest of the team that you need to step up. If you're in Florida's boat, obviously, Caglione, you're going to face challenges. But where's the other guys? I want to see more from the rest of the lineup. And that's what they need to do if they want to have a chance of win. They can't just put the entire thing on his back. Yes, he is a great player. Yes, a DVH was saying he's going to be a top 10 draft pick this year. He is a fantastic talent, but you can't have just one guy. That you're not going to win the College World Series with one guy. And so, I mean, yeah, we could talk all day long about him, but there's got to be some other guys that step up.
But here's the follow-up to that, right? Like, why are you going to throw Cags game 3 when you know that game's a question mark anyway? Wouldn't you want Cags to give you a shot? Because by game 3, there's a chance that Florida's out of the series and it's already 2-0. So why wouldn't you want Cags, arguably one of the best pitchers in the entire conference or country, as a matter of fact, to face Hagen Smith and be that Friday night game, giving you a potential chance to go and win a game 3? I'm again playing devil's advocate. I know you're not Sully, but that's just, to me, that doesn't. It's kind of like that LSU logic of, oh well, we're going to throw Luke Holman game 2 because we know we're going to give Arkansas game 1. If you don't throw Cags game 1, you're giving Arkansas game 1.
Well,
and with Brady Tigert, it's game 2. So then what does the game 3 matter at that point?
But that's what they're definitely doing. I don't think anyone is thinking right now. It's the LSU logic that's bleeding over into other coaches that are going, I don't think we're going to beat Hagen Smith. I just don't think we're going to do that. And no offense, I'm taking Hagen Smith over Jack in that game. I am. But game 2, you have a good point for game 2. Right now, it's TBA on Florida's side. So you have a good point there. Why not throw in game 2? But I think right now, maybe you throw someone in game 2 that you trust, that you think is going to be good. Maybe one of those guys that have shown some glimmers of hope, some things in it, maybe a Tuesday night. There's been some of those guys in midweek games that have looked kind of good. So do you throw somebody like that in game 2, give yourself maybe a shot there and finish it out with Caglione in game 3? Maybe that's the logic there. And I'm just trying to think from Sully's perspective. I'd rather Caglione go in a game where we don't know what the pitching situation is for Arkansas, because Hagen Smith, you're not going to beat him. And Brady Tigert's pretty darn good as well. So I think maybe that's the logic there. Again, I'm not Sully. We haven't asked him. I just looked at at the pitching line, the pitching rotation for Florida. And I also went, but that's the only thing I can come up with there.
Well, we know that if he doesn't match up on the mound, they'll match up at home plate and on the mound. What are you most looking forward to with Hagen pitching to Jack Caglione on Friday night?
4 walks.
Well, the funny thing is Jack Caglione, he's a power hitter, right? I mean, home runs is that's the name of the game for him. I'm interested to see how weather affects that for Florida. Florida they lead the SEC, I think second or third, I'd have to check, in home runs in the SEC, and they lead top 15 in the nation in home runs as well. So they live by the long ball. They also die by it as well, which again could be a bad thing for them this weekend, especially with that weather coming in. I was talking to Dan Scoff, and he said, I don't know how many home runs they're going to get just with the weather situation. They have no idea. So I think what I'm excited about is to see, can Hagen Smith shut down a guy like that? Is he going to give him trouble? And I think the answer is yes, especially when you throw in the weather situation. So that's what I'm looking for, Alyssa, is can Hagen Smith go up against a guy like him, one of the best hitters in the conference, one of the best hitters in the country, and shut him down? If he can, there's no doubt about it, he's the best pitcher.
If you're Dave Van Horn on the next 2 games outside of game 1, how do you pitch to Jack Caglione?
Ooh,
or do you?
Yeah, I mean, do you just walk him at that point? Do you just, I mean, I don't think so. I think you give Brady Tiger a chance. And then in game 3, I think with him pitching, you also give, whoever, again, I'd like to see who the starter is for game 3, but I trust Arkansas's pitching staff. If it's shown us anything this year, it's that it has depth. And that's what Florida is lacking. They lack that depth. And they lack that consistency that those guys have. So I think you have to trust in what Arkansas has done this year. And you have to trust, like Evan just shook his head when I said, do you walk him? I don't think you do. I think you trust in your guys. And that's what you have to go into this weekend knowing. Florida has been struggling. And I think Dave Van Horn, regardless of what he says in a press conference about they're a good team every year, they have been struggling. And that is the reality of it. They're trying to find any way they can go into the end of the year into that SEC tournament, not completely hobbling. They want to, they're barely above 500, Alyssa.
Courtney, they just want to make it to Hoover because 2 teams don't. And right now they ain't even going to make it to Hoover. So yeah. Exactly. Arkansas's over here trying to make it to Omaha. Florida's trying to just make it to Hoover. So
exactly, which is a crazy thing to think about, Alyssa, since at the beginning of the year, they were ranked in the top 10 and stayed there. And I was going
way too long.
No, I take no offense to it because after watching Florida this year, there was no consistency. And then again, I've said it before to both of you guys in the office. I've got you cannot rely on one guy to lead your entire team. You can't do it. You have to have some of those other guys step up, whether it's younger guys on your pitching staff, whether it's other guys in your lineup. There's talent through that lineup. I just haven't seen them be consistent enough to show me that they have a chance to win a series against a team like Arkansas.
So let's talk about that other talent. We got about 5 or so minutes left. Who do you see as the person that needs to step up and have the biggest series if Florida wants any chance to come into Baum-Walker and end the streak of home wins for Arkansas?
There's a few guys in that lineup. One that comes to mind is Shelnut. He's been a guy that when he steps up, they can win. Florida can score a lot of runs. They absolutely can score. It's just, how do they do it? They cannot. I don't think the home run is going to be very helpful for them this weekend, just with the weather, like I said before. So Shelnut's a guy I'd like to see step up. He's a guy that can be a really huge hitter for them when he's consistent and when he's not living and dying by the home run. I mean, that's the problem that you look up and down this lineup is you're like, wow, these are all good hitters, but they're scoring runs off of the home run. and you just can't do that. You've even seen that with Arkansas this year of like, hey, they've got to play some small ball to get that offense going. But I think there's that Shelnut's one of them that I want to see step up in a big way. Can he? The question is, can he against Hagen Smith? Can he against Brady Tiger? I don't know. I don't think Florida's faced the pitching this season like they're going to face against Arkansas this weekend. They just haven't. So who is going to step up? That's anybody's guess. Maybe we can go a little further down in the lineup and see if those guys can make an impact. But the further down you get, the less consistent you get. And that's where it's like question marks, question marks, question marks. If I'm Kevin O'Sullivan, I'm going into the weekend going, man, maybe we can have a young guy step up for us in a big way.
Awkward silence. Woo. That's the worst part about Zooms is I don't know who's going to speak, and I'm like, I don't want to talk over somebody. So everyone at home had a nice little awkward silence right there. Alyssa, any other questions for Courtney before we wrap up?
No, I just, if there's a jar around the office, she wants to collect her tears in. You just put them.
Listen,
well, she already collects footballs in the office. That we know that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I do collect some footballs. That's what I do. Yeah. But I will be at the game, or I will be at one of the games this weekend, hopefully.
So,
will you be in Arkansas gear or Florida gear?
What are we wearing?
I was thinking I was going to wear black, It's just, well, because
you're like dressing to your own school's funeral.
I mean, she's in mourning for the baseball team.
Like, I don't think it's going to be good for Florida this weekend. Let's just say that. I do not have any hope based on what I have seen from this team this year. There's too much inconsistency on both sides that I'm going, no.
I would just wear your Arkansas shirt I know you have in your closet and just, count your losses.
Just blend in the hog pen. Are you sitting in the hog pen or are you sitting, you got seats?
I have actual seats. Ooh. So maybe I'll go over to the hog pen a little bit. I know some of the hog pen people like Rick B's crew and everybody, they're like, you got to come over here. So I might have to go and visit with some people over there. Have them rub it in my face,
Absolutely. Well, real quick before we go, let's play some trivia. I got the question this week. This is a tough one. There's currently right now one Arkansas Razorback ranked in the top 4 when it comes to walks in the SEC. Who is it?
Ben McLaughlin.
Alyssa, are you cheating?
No,
Alyssa, are you?
No, I really am not. That was an educated guy. I've watched a lot of baseball, guys.
As of Tuesday, Ben McLaughlin was leading the SEC in walks. That was really, really quick, and that's my trivia question.
Alyssa kills it with the trivia. She kills it.
Proof that I'm in my car, guys. There's no way to cheat.
I don't know. Are you like scrolling on your phone at stats?
No, that's not possible.
It might be.
Yeah, when you're on Zoom, it's really hard to look at stats and things like that.
There you go. I just took screenshots of what I see right now.
Okay. We believe you. We believe you.
That was a tough question though.
I thought I was gonna trick you guys for sure.
I almost said Stovall.
Uh-huh.
But after watching, I was like, I really think Ben McLaughlin's walked a lot.
Yeah, Ben McLaughlin was a great guess, but I was thinking Peyton Stovall, but my brain was going down. I was like, it can't be that easy. Evan said it was hard. I feel like Peyton Stovall is a cop-out answer.
I thought Peyton's that. It's a little bit, but right now, Braden Montgomery, 41, Jackson Ross from Ole Miss, 40, Ted Burton, 39, McLaughlin, 37. McLaughlin tied with Jace Laviolette from Texas A&M. Yeah. And then Charlie Condon, 36, Ethan Petrie, 34. So, or actually 36 as well. So those are your total walk leaders around the SEC. So I thought that would be a fun question, but clearly it wasn't hard enough. But the good news is because we are running time out of Zoom, it actually does allow us to wrap a little bit early. Courtney, I guess we'll ask you any prediction for this weekend, a bold take from this series.
A bold take from the series. I do believe Florida will win game 3. Is that correct? I feel like that's bold enough to say that I don't think it's going to be a sweep.
I think
my bold take is Jack Caglione strikes out twice against Hagen Smith.
I think that could actually happen.
Oh yeah. I think that's bold enough. And I guess my bold take is Kendall Diggs will get his first home run in quite some time this weekend. So.
Okay. I feel like that's going to be so hard depending on the weather though. I don't.
That's why it's bold.
Dan's making me a little worried about the home run this weekend. He keeps saying don't expect a lot of home runs.
Well, everyone should tune into the news tonight for the weather update. Another nice little plug right there. But for Alyssa Orange and Courtney Mims, that's going to do it for batting cleanup. Courtney, we cannot thank you enough for taking some time.
Thanks, Courtney.
Thank you guys for having me on, even if you didn't want me on.
letting us get after you a little bit. It's always fun. That's going to do it for batting cleanup. For Alyssa Orange, I'm Evan Kamiko saying so long, and we will see you all next week. First pitch between Arkansas and Florida starting tomorrow night, 7 p.m. at Tom Walker. So